Well, hello everyone. OpenVic is back. After a few months with no apparent updates, people thought it was over. But it's never been less over. We're back. So, Dev Diary number 6 has been released today. It's huge news, it's amazing progress. So we're now going to be doing a discussion to go into much more detail and depth on that Dev Diary and the topics raised within it. And importantly, of course, we'll also be taking your questions and we'll answer them all and go over that at a section towards the end of the stream. We'll be collecting questions through the stream. So we've got 3 legendary members of the OpenVic team. Well, 4. We've got 3 people here joining me though. And they've been working on various things that are showcased in this Dev Diary and they cannot wait to talk about it. So I'll introduce them now, might as well. But I suppose before that, just quickly like the stream to give it more visibility and stuff like that. That's the main thing. Super chats do not go to OpenVic, they're for the Spudgun official channel, they're just for me because this is my channel and I can't really turn super chats off anyway. So super chats with questions will guarantee to get an answer at the end, right? So, without further ado, since Motionsense you're the first person to unmute yourself, hello there.
Hello. Right. Hey, hi everyone. So I'm going to presenting myself. So I'm Motionsense. Guess I'm one of the newest members of the team. Joined a couple of months ago. I'm joining the team as a project manager, more looking at how we can improve some of the processes for our lovely developers, nerd guys. But I was also supporting the main developers in terms of the tasking, so they can have a clear focus and idea what they can work on, which is it's something that's ongoing, work in progress.
Yeah, it's been great to welcome you to the team. We've seen, doing great work helping with the organisation and stuff. It's great to have you. And we also have 2 OG members as well. Hop311, hello.
Hello. Yeah, so I together with Spartan have been doing a lot of the programming, as well as a couple of other people. But yeah, we've been putting a lot of work in on a lot of stuff that isn't very flashy or like screenshotable. But now it's been very nice to finally work on some stuff that we can put in the dev diary. So yeah, been enjoying it a lot, but it's been a lot of work done by myself and Spartan in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, look, we said we're not taking money for the project, but we might need to fund some back surgery for these 2. Yeah, Spartan, hello. Hello to you as well. Welcome.
Yeah, hey. I mean, I've been working on data loading, so I've basically become the backbone of majority of the work that goes on through the rest of the project. Being a lead developer once again, and just contributing to almost every part of the project that has existed, from the simulation, Godot, front end, and then the back end, data loader. It's like, and now I'm transitioning the data loader over to a new thing.
I've had to turn Spartan and Hop up to about 140% on Discord. You're both a bit quiet, or is it just me? Chat, you think they're quiet as well?
It's probably. I mean, if it's.
I've got a shit mic because I bought nice ones and the microphone didn't work, so stuck with the headphone one.
I think I can turn up.
So as for where you can, yeah, they are. So as for where you can read the dev diary, let me just turn this intro text off because the stream has in fact started. So, well, the way I linked it there was to a community post that I put up, but I'm going to change that now to the actual website advert. Where can I get that link? The best place to read it is going to be, which one there is the best link? That you just, oh fuck, where is it? blob.core windows devdiary6.pdf. I'll give them that. Yeah, there you go. dodgy.link.openvic.devdiary.ru. Check it out, guys.
Yeah.
So, we haven't had an update, like a stream or a video for a few months now, and the last update we had was actually a discussion stream in which we mainly talked about the name change of the project and the thing that
Oh yeah.
happened there.
Oh
Oh
that's
god,
the
you're
wrong.
not.
That's the
the-
wrong one.
Oh, that was loud.
It's over. I got the link wrong, and your microphone suddenly went up to a reasonable volume, but I had already turned you up to 140. Now let me delete that link. That's the wrong one,
Noise.
guys. We don't have time for this. Let's just... I can show you the dev diary on the stream. There you go. That's it. This is the best place to read it. So, yeah, to recap, the last update we had was a stream in which we discussed that the name change, and that was some big news at the time. It went from OpenVic 2 to OpenVic, and we got the blessing of Paradox to proceed under that name. So that's good. I don't need to dwell on that one, actually. So, there hasn't been a stream or a video since that, and that was in August, I think. But that obviously doesn't mean that nothing's been happening in that time, or that they haven't been working their asses off coding and volunteering their time for this project. People here and others as well. So what's in this dev diary is a great rundown of what has been going on for the past few months, right?
Yeah. Well, one really important thing to mention is that the project only really started in its current form after we got a blessing from Paradox. Because before then, we were kind of skirting around whether we'd actually use Vic 2.
I just fucking closed Discord by accident when I was lowering or increasing his volume. Fantastic stuff. Hang on a minute there, guys. Oh, too nervous. Apologies there, I cut you off by randomly leaving. Continue, Hop. Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Okay. So yeah, when Paradox gave us their blessing, we suddenly could fully commit to loading Vic 2 assets and to supporting OpenVic mods or supporting Vic 2 mods. Yeah, and that changed the project in that it gave us something a lot, or it gave us a lot firmer path to sort of go down. Instead of sort of designing basically a new game, we had all the Vic 2 assets. We could go through them, load them in one by one. And even if we didn't yet have the full plan of how the whole structure would build up on top of that, we knew we had to load them in. And once we had them, we could then, it's sort of like you're going from working with the most basic building blocks, like just single numbers. You'll build them together into a data structure that represents, let's say, culture or a pop. And then you can do stuff with those data structures. So as we go along, we're able to make progress faster and faster because we're building on a foundation of concepts that exist in the game. So in the dev diary, you can see all sorts of screenshots of map modes. For instance, you've got a religion map mode, a culture map mode, you've got the political map mode, and I mean, the religion and culture map modes require loading in religions and cultures, loading in all the provinces, loading in all of the pops for those provinces at the start date, and then going through province by province and working out the distribution of pops in that province, working out whether the second largest religion is more than a third. All these steps go together, but the last couple steps of that are really easy because you're just taking these parts that you've already made and sort of throwing them together. And or the political map mode that we have there, that's loading in all the countries, all the provinces, the history for every single province, and then putting that together to look at a province, look up its owner, look up its color, and put it on the screen. So I don't know, I've kind of gone on a bit of a rant here, but we've really kind of got going in the last couple of months in a way that we kind of hadn't been before. And so I just kind of want to emphasize that it is that every previous dev diary or discussion stream, the difference between the previous one or the amount of stuff we were talking about is not a tenth of this. All of them put together before don't come anywhere near what we've got in terms of progress since the last one.
Yeah, so I think you've given a little bit of an introduction to the data loading side of the dev diary and stuff there, as well as a recap of where we're coming from. So yeah, he's just sort of quantified the level of stuff that has been done. So these quiet last 3 or so months have actually contained, he's basically just said more content or more work than the previous whole few months of the project, including discussions, videos, and dev diaries together, right?
Yeah, both game content. Wait, can you hear me? Right, sorry.
Yep.
Both game content and like infrastructure code that you don't see on the screen, but that is used to put everything together. I mean, that's mostly what Spartan's been doing, for instance, like building. So we can't just use, even for the CSV files, which are the most basic kind of file, that there's so many pre-made file loaders for them. We couldn't use a pre-made file loader because Vic2's CSV files are encoded in Windows 12.5.2, which is a file format from the late 2000s that is just some very weird specific thing. So we had to build a specific tool for loading that. And we built that for loading province IDs and like the colors that are associated with them. But then that same tool, once we build it, we could then later use it for loading province positions. We can then later use it for loading localization. We can then later use it for more things as well. Province adjacencies as well, like things like straits and canals. So yeah, we're not only are we adding content, we're also building tools that help us make stuff in the future. Oh, that's all
Yeah.
else that we got there.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So, I mean, I guess that's an intro. So, let's get into the meat and bones of it, if that's how the saying goes. And I can't read the dev diary from my distance, seeing it on my little OBS window here, but I'm looking at the intro. We've got the map there. What exactly is that map, and what is the section under it? That is
So it's
that's the
a little
GUI.
known country called England.
Move towards GUI. No, that's the dual monarchy, mate.
True. It's the northern side of the dual monarchy. But that's the Vic2 map, and the UI parts at the top and at the side there. Or no, it's the OpenVic map, but it looks similar to the Vic2 map, obviously with not as much polish, but it's got the same terrain type, like the exact same pixel for pixel terrain texture.
Sorry, which image is that in there, so I can actually blow up and make it bigger with the actual image?
It's batch 2 Europe province London or something. It's got London in the name.
Province panel, culture map, political map. Province panel?
The other folder. Well, there's one. Yeah.
Another
London.
folder? Oh god, there's a whole folder I didn't get.
If it's got London in the name, it's that.
I don't have it. I don't think.
Technical difficulties.
I've got that. That's almost it, right? What's that?
That's Prague. The folder called Prague. Same thing basically. Though it's got whatever. So the map in the background is put together from terrain textures using the same method that Vic2 does. It's got color tinting using the same way that Vic2 does, which is a significant improvement on how it looks compared to before. I mean, it still looks a bit flat. There are some things we can do to improve that, potentially even using Vic2 map mod shaders. There is a way that you can compile them into a form that Godot can run. It may be too much trouble to do, but if we do it, it would be really, really cool.
So the first bit of the dev diary there is the user interface, and you say that Victoria 2's UI is a messy mix of customizable GUI and GFX text files and hard-coded backend behavior, etc., etc. So you're going on about how difficult it is to do the loading of the GUI from the assets onto the new program OpenVic.
Yeah, but also how hard it is for people to edit it and write it. So I'm both complaining about how annoying it was for me, but also how stupid the format is and how, so a few mods have changed it, and then loads of other mods copy their changes. But as Spartan can tell you a lot about this, it's a really not nice format. It's something we're supporting because we're going to support all Vic2 mods, not because we particularly want to. We're definitely planning a better way of doing UI for like custom OpenVic mods separate from Vic2.
Yeah, I mean, with that one specifically, it's the worst part about it is that majority of the GUI stuff is hard coded in the back end, but because they're required being hard coded in the back end, they're also required to be in the GUI files. And if you don't have something in the GUI files that is referenced in basically the code, I'm assuming in Vic2, it'll just crash the game. So And this is a problem that even Paradox suffered with, because what they just did instead is they just moved everything they weren't going to use off screen. So you got multiple things like I think one of the there's a few different, I forget what the specific things are,
Pop-up.
but they
But some they didn't even bother to move off the screen. Some just presumably are just set to be invisible because they're just over the top of other UI.
Let's try and put this in terms that people in the chat might understand playing different games. So let's say you're playing an RPG, you walk up to a door, and that door teleports you to somewhere underground where the building is. That's absolutely nothing to do with this. And I'll shut up and we'll move on to the next page.
Well, no, but it's like let's say there's a door that teleports you somewhere, and then someone else edits the map. You've got like a map maker, and if you get rid of this door on the default map, the game crashes. That's what it's like. It's you can't change stuff. Like you can't add new things because they won't work, and you can't take away things because it will crash, because everything can only work if it's got code. And if it's got code and it doesn't, and the UI element doesn't exist, it crashes. We obviously, given that you can very easily go into the code and actually add behavior, like we won't have that limitation, but obviously we'd like a better format that doesn't require you to hard code all the behavior. In this case, though, anyway, we could go through and hard code the whole UI. I mean, since, as you said, like you can only have these certain pieces, so it isn't like we have to be able to have like any number of buttons, because there'll always be a fixed number of buttons. The problem is those pieces, like there are certain pieces that have to be there, but they're mixed in with all sorts of cosmetic things like textures or like different kind of, well, mostly textures, but also things like the ability to click and close buttons or click and close menus when you got different types of pop-up boxes, or things like pop-up menus that you've got with the natural focuses. Slightly lost my train of thought, but basically it's easier to load it all in order to provide mod support than it would be to provide mod support if we didn't load it all in. And we want to provide mod support no matter how hard it is. Like, it's a core goal.
even in the technical case where most of this, that if you add anything to the file or the GUI files, it'll actually not work because you can't hook them up. So if you add a button, it doesn't do anything.
So the bottom line is avoiding all shortcuts, putting in the hard work, so that no one will ever have to use a compatibility patch to use any existing Victoria 2 mod in OpenVic compatibility mode.
Yeah, the idea is to get it to working.
If there are bugs that Vic 2 can still work, like if there are mistakes, we won't be able to fix all the mistakes. Like, let's say there's a bugged event, it's not going to magically work in OpenVic, but it won't make OpenVic crash. OpenVic will report the error, and so the modder can fix it if they want. But no matter what, you'll be able to get, if something will always work in OpenVic at least as well as it works in Vic 2. Like, as much as we can feasibly do. We will keep on working towards that goal until we hit it.
Yeah, the biggest thing is
Right.
we don't want any, we want full compatibility in the sense that it if it doesn't work in Vic 2, it probably will only work tangentially in some weird manner in OpenVic without crashing.
All right, let's move on to the second page. And do you have anything to say about any of that Motionsense?
No. I think what they said is I agree, is correct. I think the main idea, I guess, is that we want to make the game moddable as possible, because pretty much that's how we, at least that's my interpretation. At least that's how we made this team, by loving Victoria 2 and seeing the mods that have been created throughout the years. So we want kind of to give the same feeling or show the same thing with this project as well, because at the end of the day, we want to let people to be creative, create what they really want. But yeah,
We're not nutters who play vanilla.
So
definitely
that's
not.
a really good point, Motionsense, because it's that the appreciation of modders and modding in OpenVic that's represented in two ways by the two modes that we'll talk about later: compatibility and out-of-the-box mode. Compatibility mode will allow all existing Victoria 2 mods to load as they are. So that work will be there to use in OpenVic. But then out-of-the-box mode in the future will allow us all sorts of new tools. All those annoying UI things will be different and fixed in the different new upgraded versions. So in two senses, Yeah, exactly what you just said.
Yeah, and all the suggestions that people have been making, both like team members and community members, we've got a massive spreadsheet full of them. Those will be going into out of the box mode, whatever. Yeah, all sorts of names for it. It will have its own set of assets that will be independent of owning Vic2. They'll be created by us, like without referring to Vic2's assets. If anything, they'll have a different format, a better format, a more easily moddable format based on feedback from modders. Yeah, but all of that is after we have a working compatibility mode game. So, I mean, realistically, that is there is no time we will set for when that will start. Entirely, we are focused on compatibility mode, getting working game that matches Vic2
Yeah, and
as
that's
faithfully
alluding.
as
Yeah,
possible.
that's alluding to the last section where we really will go into detail on the difference between compatibility mode and out of the box mode. But I think you get the idea. One of them is for previous compatibility or with Vic2 as it is now, and the next one is the upgraded stuff. And that's in the previous OpenVic video that I made. OpenVic has a map, or OpenVic 2 has a map as it was called then. I went into a really specific detail on that, although we've specified it even more now. We've got the infographic to show you, which will be great. So what is page 2 of the dev diary showing here? We've got a couple of UI windows.
So it's the two main pieces of UI that we go through here. The top one is the province panel, and that's got a bullet point underneath describing the pieces in it. And this is the most developed piece. It's sort of the thing we used first, or we worked on first, because it's quite nice to be able to click on a province and see information about it. There's lots of pieces that go into it that we had to, like, to implement this, we had to develop. So
And all that
I mean,
information is serious too. It's not simulated.
yeah, all of this is actually loaded from like if you look open up Vanilla Vic 2 now, you'll find Prague has these exact, like, it has 416.2k pops. So if you look here, like things that we had to develop for this, obviously pie charts and progress bars for the life rating, flags were a quite complicated thing. But then even more basic things, just the fact that we've got all these textures, the fact that the terrain texture back there gets swapped out, that required its own system. The fact that we've got checkboxes, that we've got buttons, that we've got things that you could mouse over and get a tooltip pop up, like the aristocrat things in the corner. The fact that we've got all these text labels and we've got an easy method of accessing them, and not only setting the text but then translating it. I mean, it says an Arctic bomb throwers on there. I don't know what that is in German or any of the other languages in Vic, but like it would show up correctly if you change the language. It is all implemented. These are not just things for show. These are the things shown here are the things which have been properly completely finished. If you look below at the top bar, you can see that some parts of it are done. Like we've got country flag, country name, the date, the game speed or pause button, like depending which it is, and the speed control buttons. But if you look at the things above it, those are all default. That's just what they look like when you load them in without changing any labels. Some of the things are missing, like the line graph on the budget and the icons on trade. And that's something that I haven't yet implemented the behavior for. And I could go through it and just set the labels and sort of cheat and make it look like we've done more than we have. But I haven't, because it's like, this is something we can already do for the whole game. I mean, so it doesn't have all the labels filled in, but that level of completion, which still looks pretty good, like from afar it basically looks finished, that we've got for the whole game done. What we now have to do is go through and wire up each of these sections and make them actually do things, like when you click on them, when you mouse over them, make them output the correct like numbers or names, or have the correct colors or icons. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be quite fun work, and all of it is going to be stuff we could create screenshots of and show people. So the informal showcase channel on the community server is going to be very active now. It's going to be our main focus to get all of these UI things made, and all of them are going to be showing data that we've already loaded in. Like you've got the pie charts there showing data that we've already loaded in. You're going to have things like the population screen where you open it, the production screen, the budget screen, the technology screen. We have the data behind all of these things. We've just got to create the menus and then wire them up to the data.
Yeah, sounds amazing. So we're transitioning from that 3-month period where we didn't have any sexy images to show in the informal showcase channel to having maybe even, well, not daily, but we'll have very regular stuff to put in there now. So we can we'll have a constant flow of nice images and progress to show. Mainly
Yeah,
on the
they-
community
they'll get
server, but
far.
I'm sure I'll post some on my YouTube and Twitter as well.
And the province panel has been the hardest one to make because I've got to make all the things from scratch. Now, every other time you add a label, you've already got a tool for using it. Every other time you make an icon go to like say one of like the pop icons or the goods icons, you've got a whole system that you just with a single function you just say set icon and give it a number and it's done. So it's going to get faster and faster. More and more people are going to be taking on these tasks. Yeah, we're literally snowballing to the moon.
Oh, fantastic to hear. And my own question here is, you see the province panel there. So if I were to open up OpenVic's current early build, which you can do if you go on the GitHub and follow those quick start guides and all that, and if I started clicking around provinces, could I get this for every province, the Bohemia, Prague example?
Yes, you could even get it for water provinces where you haven't yet turned that off, but there wouldn't be any people in them yet.
500
Wait,
million square meters of water population here. Fish population 700k.
Some of these things, of course, like the astute viewer would notice that 12.3457 is maybe not a real number there, but some of these things are placeholders. But actually, apart from the all the 10% and that 12.3457 and the 42 for the supply limit, everything else is genuine. The good icon and name, the crime icon and name, the population, the 3 pie charts, the RGO employment proportion, the controller flag, the life rating, like that's the life rating it starts off with. Yeah, so all of this stuff is already loaded into the game. And like the Slovakia flag is genuine. It's not a fake Slovakia flag. That is actually loaded into the game.
By genuine and all that, just to clarify, in case people don't understand, so by genuine he means it's going into your Victoria 2 assets folder, on your Steam directory, and taking those files in there and loading them into the OpenVic program to display in OpenVic. For all of those things, that's...
Flash your credit card information on the screen.
Sorry?
It'll go to Vic2 files and find your credit card information.
You shouldn't have said that even as a joke. It's over. So... this is the page with the map modes and shit. Now this is the sexy page. We can blow up some of these maps to be full screen here, but you just want to briefly go over this page and what's going on here. Maybe Spartan can come in on this?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't much responsible for this specific parts because, I mostly been responsible for a lot of the data loading, and then I was responsible for loading the bookmarks. But, I mean, the first one's the terrain, the second one's the states, or the countries. Third one's the cultures, and the fourth one's the new religion map mode.
Wait, I can put these up full size. So there's the culture map mode.
And that's totally loaded from the game, from Vic2 Vanilla.
It looks exactly the same as Victoria 2, but also somehow better resolution and bigger and better. I don't know how. It looks better than what you see when you go in the game.
But one thing is the stripes. I think they're maybe slightly thin or something. Like there are certain points where because of how I need to blend the stripes more for them to like not have the really thin parts. Beyond that though, yeah, it's really nice because we've got.
Wait, did you? Are you anti-aliasing them?
Very slight. Well, it does it naturally because of the way it mixes the terrain textures underneath. It gets 4 different provinces because the province is what determines what the terrain texture is.
That would probably make it better than Vic 2.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things we can do. I mean, just in terms of the fact that we can have better shaders because they were making it for 2010 computers. I mean,
yeah, this is why we use
old computers, but most computers will be able to have way better graphics, like massively.
We will also support 2010 computers and things.
Oh yeah, they can just turn down the settings.
We'll try our best to keep it because there is a few things where 2010 computers don't very much like Vulkan. and we've been relying a lot on Vulkan, so we have to figure out ways of.
I mean, I could turn what we've currently got to OpenGL, not the UI, but the map easily.
Well, the one thing is the compute shaders are a Vulkan thing, and they only show up in OpenGL 4.
What
Which
we're not using compute shaders, I thought.
I thought. Did you stop using them for loading up the map, or for managing the map or whatever?
I didn't think I was using them. I was just
Some
using a text array. But we can talk about this later. Needless detail.
Yeah,
The,
whatever.
the main thing to say also is that most of the strain for Vic 2 is CPU, not GPU. It's doing all the pop calculations. It's not putting the graphics on the screen. So since the average computer today has a more powerful CPU, but has a way more powerful GPU, more advanced graphics aren't going to affect the pop calculations, no matter how old the computer is. And anyway, all graphics can be turned down. I mean, you could turn it down to like the most basic possible, like Reno map mod, basically. Like graphics will not be a limiting concern.
There was an old map mod that Nurse Reno did to kind of create a basic thing that made it easier to see terrain for micromanagement. But it's like no one uses that these days. But it's a funny experimental thing. Now, someone in the chat with a Greek name asks, where are the Greeks in Anatolia? Let's zoom in on this. Is it just me, or is the Greek culture actually that colour in Vanilla Vic?
Vanilla,
yeah, it's the vanilla colors we're loading from vanilla.
For some, in DOD they're light blue, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's also because they're like got a nationalist thing with Venice, so I think they're trying to make Venice and Greece look similar.
And this is the reason that we use Godot as well.
There's no Greeks in Anatolia making up a third or more of any of those provinces, mate. I'm sorry, that's not an OpenVic issue. That's
Well, they may be a decent portion of it, but if you've got loads of other little minorities as well, they might bump them quite down from third. Like, it doesn't matter, even if the Turks are like, if the Turks are if the Turks are 33, and the Greeks are 32, it'll be full Turkish. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter the relative sizes. It's purely just if the Greeks are more or less than a third. That's how Vic 2 does it as well, or at least I hope it does. That's what it looked like to me. Like someone could find a province
I'm pretty sure it does do it that way.
Please let me know.
I mean, if it doesn't, we can easily look into that if it's requires more research. But yeah,
no, I seriously would be very interested in knowing. Like, it disturbed me not to know.
Here's a political map mode, which is just looking like a political map mode. It's the thing about these looking at compatibility mode screenshots is it's not like, oh my god, this is so beautiful and amazing, it's great new stuff. It's just looking like Vic 2. It's Victoria 2.
It's not even yet.
It's almost like that's what we're aiming to do.
Yep. Except for out of the box mode, that is going to be sexy.
Oh yeah, well this will eventually be sexy as well. It's just right now not as nice as Vic 2 because we're not doing as much as it. It is better than it used to be, but also, I mean, looking at this, the fact you've got, so we know what the countries are on the map, and that's like from there. So many other things go from there, like being able to manage the factories in a country. Like we could make factories, but we wouldn't be able to do anything with them. We now have factories linked to a country. Those will be linked to a national budget. That means POPs know what country they're in, which means that POPs that get paid from national budgets, which is quite a lot of them, they now can actually get an income. And from there, we're building up an economy already with like basic things where we don't have any trade. We just have money from the budget to POPs. And we can start then looking into POP needs. Even if we don't have a proper system for buying them yet, we can just give POPs goods every day and still have the mechanism of needs fulfillment impacting their happiness and stuff like that. Like there are so many things we can build that we're going to slowly get closer and closer to a more complex simulation, and there'll still need to be like some point later on where we sit down and go like, all right, now we put together the proper economy. But we're still going to get a lot done before then, which we'll be able to see in game, which we'll be able to mess around with. I mean, basically we're going to try, rather than building the game sort of piece by piece, we're going to try build a skeleton of as much of the game as we can, and then fill in the bits as we go. But that means for things that aren't yet implemented, we'll have placeholders that mean that it doesn't break the game. Like right now, you can load up the game, even though not everything is implemented. Like, for instance, conditions and effects in events, they're not implemented. But you can still load up things that have conditions or load up things that have effects. We just work around that for now and have placeholders in their place.
All right, and now we have probably, I mean, the religion map mode, famous for not actually being in Victoria 2, but we've already got it. It's looking really good. Great to see a religion map mode. People
I could
really
have
like
gone,
it in the chat.
I could have gone into Iran, and I could have got a lot more interesting screenshot, but all the other ones were Europe, so I stuck with this. Maybe stick around. I'll put in the informal showcase. I'll do a whole world religion map.
All right, nice.
You don't know this information in Vic too, like unless you manually check. Like, how would you know that like I know that Protestantism looks that weird, or how it goes down to Switzerland.
Or
Yeah.
that there's a little bit in Transylvania.
Oh, you know about that because that's the Hungarian province. You could surely analyze the pops of that province.
It could be the Hungarians, but it could also be the Siebenberg Germans.
Oh, I don't know if it's the
Yeah.
Hungarians being Protestant, but that's the province which shows up as part. If you go to the culture map mode, you'll see that province is different on the culture map mode.
Wait, culture map mode? Oh, that's Anatolia.
Yeah, I think it's more a mix between Hungarians and Germans.
There it's showing a majority Hungarian couple of provinces and a majority Romanian
Hungarian
with some.
province.
But in any case, let's go back to the dev diary.
Yeah.
And move on. Can I move this?
I'm going to quickly switch onto my phone one sec.
Page 4. Right. Data loading, which we've already kind of talked about data loading a bit. That's what's going on. It's loading data from your Vic2 copy, which is legally owned, into the OpenVic program. And Hop has got a list of stuff that is being loaded.
Oh no, Brick wrote this.
Bricks. Oh yeah, he was going to turn up
Okay.
later, but he can't make it until like an hour into the stream or so. In that map there, you got the political map of the world there. So what, should we just move past that? Move on to the next bit?
I mean,
Ye-
there's not
Yeah,
much to
go on.
really talk about there. I mean, we got the Lua defines. that was interesting.
We've got a bit here mentioning how we're in position to start the next dev cycle, and there's a bit about recruitment. The team, right, we've got a major error with the dev diary here. It still says OpenVic 2 on the team application.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, someone brought that up. Okay.
Oh,
No, follow.
200% volume. All right. Yeah.
You're good. You're good now.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to take that 2 off, as per the previous discussion. But yeah, in terms of the team, we're still looking for other people to join. You know, if you have any knowledge in any of those kind of fields and you have an interest in, in supporting the project, and you are very keen in learning how things are done, nuts and bolts, then you're more than welcome to submit an application, and we should get back to you. I guess one of the emphasis that we are trying to make with, I guess, recently with those changes that we've been having within the team is that, yes, you are joining the team, to have fun, work on the project, but I guess from my perspective, I guess from a PM perspective more, is also to facilitate people in trying to put their foot on the door outside in the industry, whether they want to go in game industry or something more generalist as a software engineering or art or whatever. You're joining a multidisciplinary team where you have different teams for art, software, PM, so on and so forth, with lead people, so you can try, if you really want, you can include on your CV in the future to show to your future
That's already
employer.
happened.
Yeah.
I was a reference for Red King. He got a job.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
as you can
amazing.
see, it's
That's
really
amazing.
good. Yeah, so
I'm actually really happy to hear that.
Yeah, so we are trying to put a heavy emphasis on this because we are fully aware how the game industry, especially at the moment, is. Everything is on fire with people being laid off for various reasons. So
All industry.
yeah, well, especially game
The
industry,
world.
since we are trying to deliver a game solution. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're very keen for this, feel free to join. You know, as long as you have a basic knowledge on those things, you're keen to learn, that's good. You know, just to give an example, we also have a model that we tried to operate on this 70-20-10, which basically said that 70% of the work you'll be doing by learning, by doing it. So, you know, try and error kind of thing. 20% is more, you know, if someone helps you. So such as, for example, for developers will be Hop or Spartan will be able to help you for coding. And then 10% is you yourself going out on YouTube or other courses to learn how to do things. But yeah, in terms of the team, we are, you know, we are looking for more people. So yeah, feel free to submit your application.
I will also say, over the last couple months, we have we've gone through and done some looking through and bringing on new devs, but there are definitely lots of people that not that we missed out, but just we haven't done an intake for a while. So if you made an application a while ago, do not worry. We are going to go and look through the whole list again. And yeah, ideally, if we'll have a load of, especially let's say UI tasks coming up now, and so we'll be looking to bring people on, give them work that they can that is approachable, but will basically be a test for whether you have the will to actually do some work. And then from there, yeah, you'll turn into someone like Brick or Zarf, who's doing 10 PRs every week or something.
Can we get a link for the application form to maybe post in the chat now, but also the description of this stream?
Yeah, I think we can post it any moment. But yeah, and in terms for this, you know, I think I lost my train of thought on this.
Well, so, you know, obviously we're looking to get another wave of recruitment going when this new dev cycle starts, because we're coming out of the work that's been done for this dev diary, advancing forward, project snowballing. Join the team and you'll get a reference to get a real job as well.
Yeah. I mean, you know, any work can help you. You know, it's really good that you could show that you've worked in a team with, you know, with other people doing, you know, being specific to a specific task and so on and so forth.
I have a public repo you can link to.
Yeah, and we also have a website, really. So, you know.
Yeah, you're adding stuff to your own portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, somewhere or another, it's kind of professional, but not too professional. It's more relaxed professional kind of thing. But yeah, and in terms of how we are right now, actually trying to look at how we can define some processes or trying to review the current ones. So, for example, we are at the moment looking how we can mature the tasking process, as in, because at the moment what we have is we meet every week in the weekends if we can, and we set the next 2 weeks tasks, and then we just put them on Discord, which is good, works. But if we want to expand, you know, add other people, it's not really ideal. We probably might be looking at more professional or something workable in terms of solution. So, you know, a application or, you know, something that you can visualize those cards kind of thing, tasking that could easily be done for you to see what you're working on. But yeah,
more spreadsheets basically.
Well, yeah, spreadsheet could be a good next step. But as a goal, we probably be looking for something much more mature and much more professional, I guess. Something fleshed out. But yeah, in terms of the tasking, we are right now looking how we can add the difficulty level to each task, because right now we made the first step in terms of, you know, structure the tasking. But I guess the next step is how exactly can we assign a task to someone else? Say someone is new or has a basic knowledge. How exactly can we assign that to that person? So that it will be probably more of a matrix kind of thing, isn't it, Hop?
Yeah, give them the ability to find a task for themselves rather than having to come and get one tailored, which is still nice to do, but it takes time. Anyway, Spud, do you have that screenshot of TGC's UI?
I certainly do, and I just want to make a quick note that, of course, all the questions that you're asking in chat, you know, we are noting them. I hope that we can do them in the Q&A section, which will be the last section of the stream. Just a reminder. And here's TGC.
Yeah, so because we're
was
loading
too quick on
everything
the draw.
properly. Well, because we're loading everything from the defines, yeah, we can load the TGC map. I mean, there's something a bit weird going on next to the name label there. I need to look into that. The first time I've loaded TGC's UI in, but first time, basically everything works because we are loading, like, we are not taking any shortcuts. We're not hard coding stuff. We are, I mean, even we're making stuff more moddable than it is in Vic 2. Like lots of things which are like just a list of constant like types that something can have. We're loading in those types and like have a list where none of it's hard coded. Well, some things are hard coded, but as much stuff as possible is, it may not even be moddable now, but it is done so that it will be moddable. It'll be easy to make it moddable in the future with out of the box mode and custom assets.
So you're saying that even compatibility mode will have some extra nice bits of modding that Vic 2 doesn't have?
Yeah, so there'll be some things like goods categories, or even like the fact in Vic 2 you have 3 stratas of pops, or 3 strata of pops, upper, lower, and middle. That's hard coded in Vic 2. There's no way around it. Whereas that will be customizable in OpenVic. I mean, you'll have to make corresponding changes to the UI, but also because the UI, you can change the GUI and GFX files, and although you still need to have code to support the behavior of the UI, at Vic 2 you can't decompile it and change the code. OpenVic, you can go into the Godot GD script and just change the behavior code there. Like, we're balancing that we have the stuff that needs to be fast, like the core simulation, everything that actually runs a Vic 2 is in C++, and it's being written to like being done properly in like, no matter how hard it is to produce a good game that will be stable and run fast. But then the UI is being built using Godot, which makes stuff a lot easier, makes stuff a lot more customizable, and just generally makes it better, because any UI that we made ourselves, we'd make mistakes on it, or there'd be things that we just don't think as deep into, because making UI is quite difficult and complicated. So this will also make it just more customizable, because it's a lot easier for somebody to come in and edit GD script than it is for somebody to come in and mess with C++ UI stuff.
Also,
Alright.
one thing about that,
Go ahead.
as well, the nice thing about using GD script and Godot in general, with Godot scenes specifically, is that you could feasibly make a mod which would allow you to load GD script and scenes directly into the game, and it wouldn't even have to necessarily affect the checksum. So you could make up your own GUIs for the game.
I just want to say, before we introduce BrickPi, who's coming to the stream, that in the previous OpenVic fully edited update video, we had the TGC map loaded up as a sort of big reveal thing, how we were able to load the map. That's obviously been expanded upon now. This is just one of many mods in Vic 2 that would be compatible, but we like to use TGC as an example because they've got their big resolution map. And now it's obviously got the UI on top of it. You can click on the provinces are in. So this is a nice upgrade from when we previously had TGC loaded into that last video where it was the map. Hello, BrickPi.
Hello. Yep.
Welcome. Great to have you as well. There was a bit of the dev diary, which I think was going to be your speciality. We can come back to that, but welcome, and you know, I suppose we got to do a little intro now. Go back to the intro.
Oh.
What do you do on the team? What's your role?
I manage the website, and I've done quite a bit of work with data loading, which is the C++ site, getting Victoria 2's files into OpenVic in a manner that can be modded and can work together to, you know, show stuff on the map eventually. And I'm recently working on some map stuff. I'm looking at getting rivers drawn, but that's some stuff to be seen later.
Well, you
Not
just
today.
go into MS Paint, select a light blue brush, and sort of just draw a line through a country. Right, so
Yeah.
there was a bit of the dev diary here, the data loading section with this list of stuff, which I believe was your area of expertise.
Yeah, let me get that pulled up.
That's page 4.
Yeah.
Meme
Right,
River.
yeah.
Go on.
So data loading, right? All this kind of stuff that you just take for granted in Victoria 2. The map itself we've gotten that working for a while, but we've just been slowly adding stuff. In Victoria and Paradox games generally, there's a system called history files, which a lot of the modders out there will know, which is how you define stuff like what technologies a country has, what government's in charge of a country, what religion are the pops in this province, what province is owned by this country. All that kind of stuff is defined in history files, which we've loaded recently. We were working on that about a month ago. Countries. We now load, country colors, country flags. We load all sorts of this stuff about countries, including their alliances, subjects, wars, armies, navies. All of this stuff is now accessible to the game. Then, the economy. We have enough stuff in place that we should be able to pretty soon begin working on some of the code that undergirds the economy simulation, which will be really cool to see. Pops have been working for a while, and we've been continuously adding new stuff to, pops to politics. When I say new stuff, I mean files that we weren't previously loading. I'll clarify that. We have politics, military, and then of course mods. We have completely moddable GUI and GFX, which means, no compatibility patches, no changing mods, no fixing mods. If you have a GUI mod, if you have any type of mod, it should just work. Which is one of the things that has made data loading take a while, because we need to do it right in a way that lets us mod it like that. But we have done a very good job of that, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished over this last few months.
Can I point out one thing
Yep.
specifically on loading that stuff? Specifically, if it works in Vic 2, it probably will work in OpenVic, unless it causes problems in Vic 2, in which case it will either error out or warn you that something is seriously wrong. A good case
We
for
can't
that.
guarantee we'll recreate bugs perfectly, but we'll at least not make them damage stuff.
Yeah, we'll try and avoid creating what I call an invalid state, or what it is, an invalid game state. For example, I want to build in a system that makes it so that if you forget to put in an ID for an event, it will tell you forgot to put an ID, this is not going to work, we're not going to load this specific event. Stuff like that.
And we've already got stuff like that for quite a lot. Like, we don't crash when we come across invalid stuff. We report it, and then we work around it as best we can, whether that's not loading something or loading something with a default value. Like, if it doesn't crash Vic 2, it won't crash OpenVic.
And if it does crash in Vic 2, it probably will error out on OpenVic. But not crash.
Yeah, Vic 2.
Gracefully error out.
Vic 2 has, well, in multiplayer we have some infamous crashes that just close the game straight to desktop, don't even have a message, nothing.
Yeah.
Some of them are splitting units, don't know if you know anything about that. Splitting a stack of units like just at the same time it would arrive in the next province, and that only happens in multiplayer because the lag makes them happen at the same time. You can't recreate it in single player. But that's a bit of a random tangent, but I don't know how that would be in OpenVic.
And if it was an OpenVic, we'd fix it.
That's probably a priority thing as well for networking, and they probably mix up the they probably mix it up when they send it to the server or the host.
Yeah, so we've got the next bit here, a section on testing. Tell us all about that.
So Joe was handling the whole requirement system, and that's led up to basically a list of the things that we test, the requirements that we have to fulfill in order for the game to be working correctly, fulfilling the requirements. And for a while, these were just all in text, and we were implementing them, but we weren't really testing them because we didn't have enough stuff to really justify going through the whole list testing them. But now that we've got hundreds and hundreds of requirements implemented, so some of the testing will be manual, like starting up the game, pressing the new game button, selecting a country, opening up the game, clicking on provinces and stuff like that. But lots of stuff can be automated as well, like checking that we're actually loading the correct values in. One big thing, for instance, is any sort of decimal number in the defines. We can't use the normal way that computers do decimal numbers is something called floating point, which can work very fast, but it is not it's not the same between all computers. So if you have a different CPU, a CPU from a different manufacturer, you can end up having different things, different results. A classic example is if you add together 0.1 and 0.2 and then print out the number. In most programming languages, you won't get 0.3, you'll get 0.300000004 or something like that. So
there's another thing to point out.
Yeah, we have to do
with that
special
as well.
stuff with these types of numbers.
There's one thing to point out with that as well. The biggest disagreement between systems when it comes to floating point is actually not even specifically x86-64 CPUs, but specifically ARM versus x86-64. So Intel x86 CPUs disagree with ARM even if you try to standardize under IEEE 5.4. 5.4? Yeah, I think it's 5.4. I'm messing up the...
So if you're rewriting
term.
a very complex code base to run off Amazon's Graviton CPUs in order to save billions of dollars, you have to be careful with the decimal numbers.
Yeah, and ARM is specifically a Mac OS thing. So if we want to support Mac, we need to support ARM.
These things
If we
go
want
way
to
over my
support
head.
Mac, we've been having some Mac discussions earlier today. Not
Yeah.
about whether to support it or not, just about annoyances with it. But we still support it. Brick is our in-house slave to Apple who makes sure that everything is fully Mac compliant, as well as GitHub. GitHub does that automatically for us as well.
Yeah, Mac can be a little picky and choosy when it comes to what tools that you even install that it wants to use when building stuff, to say the least.
People are all... Well, I know the questions are for the end, but people are bringing up Linux in the chat as well. Just that's going to work, right?
Linux is going to work.
Spartan, in case you guys didn't know, Spartan is actually a user of a certain operating system. I won't spoil it.
I'm kind of a daily driver of the system known as Linux, or as some refer to it, Linux plus GNU, or GNU Linux.
Yeah, Spartan's an arch user, and everyone with any kind of Linux, distribution, do not worry, it will work. Godot, so long as it's not so crazy that Godot doesn't support it, it will work. Spartan will make sure of it, and we've got plenty of other Linux users as well. I mean, I develop mostly on Windows, but I have a Linux dual boot, especially for going in and going after the weird bugs that show up just because of the differences between operating systems. It's a lot of work to put in to support all three, Mac, Linux, and Windows, but we are doing it. Every single commit to any of the OpenVic repo, the simulation submodule, the data loader submodule, or any other of the other repos, they get tested every commit against Linux, Mac, and Windows. And if they don't compile, if they don't properly export, then there's a big red X next to the commit, and we won't merge it.
Another thing I want to add there, you could actually right now, if you have a GitHub account, you can actually go to each build on commits and actually download a running version of the game from each commit as well.
The UI stuff, or the UI stuff currently there is very basic. Most of the stuff in the dev diaries is on my local machine. I'm going to be committing it there, and people will be able to download it and try it out themselves within like a day or two. I just want to clean it up so that I'm not committing buggy code.
Yeah, I think just the one quick note is I just also want to echo on this. Sorry for interrupting, Spud.
Not at all.
Just want to say that this should clearly show that the passion that our developers have in this project. This is not a kind of thing that we're just going to implement this this kind of feature, or we're just going to build this project and for Windows and then slap compatibility patches after that. We are really looking into how we can support other future things, and also like Hope said, trying to look for all three operating systems, because we know that people, the end users, some of them don't use only Windows. Could be also Linux, different distributions, but also Mac OS.
Sample OS.
Well, I love it.
Naturally.
Yeah,
have
but
to try and get that on Godot first.
Yeah, we are going to put a spotlight on Temple OS, but yeah, we are there's a thought process behind any of those decisions, and like I said, it's not just we're just gonna do Windows and that's it, and we're gonna think about the other OSs later down the line when someone's going to report a problem. That's not how we want to work. We really appreciate, we really care about community, so we're trying to facilitate any of those things for them.
But yeah, that's the underlying philosophy of the whole project. It's about building things properly and meticulously from the ground up, rather than quickly throwing something out and then fucking, gluing compatibility onto it like building a big Jenga tower or something. Like building it solidly from the ground up.
Yeah, exactly.
So I suppose on that note, we move on to the next section, which is all about the scope of the project and the goals, which is something that's been consistent, but we've kind of narrowed it down as we go forward, and as we actually start getting into making these different modes, we're better able to explain it and really show the difference in what we're doing. So we've made some really sexy diagrams, and I have to take credit for something, right? I came up with the idea for this Venn diagram myself to explain the difference between what is now called out of the box mode, UTB mode, and compatibility mode or compat mode.
That's to say, Mr. Kiwi put them together.
He made them look nice. I came up with a shitty diagram on MS Paint.
Oh yeah, but still, it's a great contribution for him. I mean, he put all that text on there as well.
Absolutely.
Made sure it was all aligned properly, all the boxes.
Yeah.
I was just referring to the idea of the Venn diagram. He's made a great bit of infographicness. So, I mean, who would like to explain this? Out of the box mode and compatibility mode summed up here. Or do we let's extrapolate it to the whole page. All of page 6 and 7. They're all explained in a lot of detail here. I mean, there's not much... there's actually... The thing about these, is that there's not much more detail to add because it's already massively detailed in the dev diary about what these are. But
yeah, I've kind of gone over this stuff in every single dev stream and dev diary, I guess. But just to quickly summarize it, there's two things which change between between compat mode and out of the box mode. One of them, which is the biggest difference, is compatibility mode uses original Vic2 or uses Vic2 assets from your local copy of Vic2. It can support any Vic2 mod because most Vic2 mods depend on the base Vic2 assets. They don't implement everything themselves.
BrickPi, your microphone's you're breathing into it.
Oh, my bad.
No worries.
But yeah, so with compatibility mode, it's using the Vic2 files that you're loaded on your own copy of Vic2. OpenVic accesses them. It can also access mods and load them all into the game. It's like normal Vic2. Out of the box mode, on the other hand, has original assets made by our artists, made based on all of the events and decision submissions, law submissions that people have made on the community server, as well as made just by devs and people we bring on to go through and put together these population data for every province in the world. And since we're making these assets originally, we're making them all from scratch. They can use new formats. We're not stuck with, for instance, defining every pop in the world. Literally every single pop on the starting map of Vic2 is defined as a single thing with a size, culture, religion. OpenVic, will have ways around that. If you want to, you can, for instance, define a total pop for a number of provinces, and then just for each of those provinces say, okay, split that pop into this percentage of this religion, culture, and pop type, this percentage of this religion, culture, and pop type. It can make it easier to change stuff quickly, and also make it easier to load stuff into the game, easier to spot mistakes and stuff like that. Beyond that, though, the difference between the actual assets, compatibility mode and out-of-the-box mode will generally have a difference in terms of things like customized mechanics. So any changes we made that deviate away from standard Vic2 mechanics as close as we can feasibly get, open out-of-the-box mode will have these types of changes. So, for instance, things like factories being tied to provinces rather than just being tied to states. They'll still be accessed at the state level, but if you you'll have CBs to take single provinces, and those could take a factory if it's in just that province. Just in general, there will be optional decisions that are optional changes to the mechanics and the way the game works that can be made by changing game rules, similar to various Paradox games like CK2. In general, we will assume that custom compatibility mode using Vic2 assets has all of those game rules turned off or like turned to the default Vic2 mode. And out of the box mode has stuff set to the more customized mode, new ideas, improvements to mechanics and stuff like that. But these will always be completely optional. And I don't know for sure, of course, because we have to still put this all together. But it's not going to be like the fixed thing is Vic2 assets or custom assets. The game rules you choose to play those with, will be very customizable, and it should be possible to use most of the new improved mechanics with Vic2 assets, and also use custom assets with complete standard Vic2 mechanics. That should all be possible, but the main thing is that you will be able to play original Vic2 assets with original Vic2 mechanics. That will always be guaranteed.
Indeed, and just to say about this, the Venn diagram here. So in the previous streams and discussions, we've showcased a lot of the artwork made by members of the team, such as Jenny's amazing little RGO icons, which are in the left circle there. Now, those were always going to be the new upgraded version, which we're now calling out of the box mode, and compatibility mode is going to load the normal Vic2 assets as they are, as you can see. So all of that other art we were showcasing. And another thing in out of the box mode would be Kazder's very high resolution map that we've previously showcased. That will be
Too
out of the
big
box
for the
mode.
GPU.
Too big to put in that little Venn diagram as well. And but the code of the project, the game mechanics and all that is the same between them.
Yeah, just with settings that you can change to turn on and off various changes that people may want to make. So ultimately, the main thing is we will not be making any deviations from. We will not. If there's any change from base Vic 2, which is possible for us to not make, there will be an option not to make it. Like there are some things like we will never 100% copy the economy or the AI because we don't know how it works. But anything which is like a conscious difference from Vic 2, where we could do it the other way, it will be possible to have it the other way, and it will be the other way by default. You will have to go into the settings and change away from and change to the changed settings if you are loading base Vic 2 assets like from your own install.
Yeah, but any changes in mechanics and stuff they're going to be based on what community really wants. We've already taken in loads of suggestions for that, which are kind of ready to go. We've got that big spreadsheet. The changes that we make, which are going to be optional and off by default, they won't be the whims of the one random developer who puts them in, or me, or any one person. They're going to be big community changes, like a macro builder for your units, of course, as a big example. Loads of people want that. That'll certainly be an option. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry.
And if you could just sort of imagine an invisible circle of this Venn diagram, which is not connected to any of those three, and it's far off in the distance, that's Victoria 2's code, which is Paradox's, and we're not having anything to do with it. That's off the Venn diagram. But that's basic stuff about the project.
It's like the shadows in the cave in the parable. We only see the shadow of Vic 2's code. We can never touch it, but we can look at it and try to etch our own out.
It's like a UI element that's way off to the side, like 4 million pixels to the left, so you can't see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of, we are looking up, quote unquote, we are looking the code and see how we can improve it on our end. Because, at the end of the day, the out of the box mode is really more of a case of the community saying, "Oh, I wish Victoria 2 had this, had that." So that's the kind of idea behind of this mode. Whereas the compatibility mode is trying to mirror the original Victoria 2 as much as we can, plus some more small quality of life fixes that we can add without affecting the game itself.
Things like getting rid of oosing and fixing
Religion
crashes.
map mode.
Yeah, exactly. Religion map mode could be quality of life. It's not really affecting that much the gameplay, but it's really good because that's something that the community has been wanting for ages. obviously it's down to interpretation whether you would consider religion map mode as a quality of life or a full-fledged map mode that's affecting gameplay and where you can make your strategy, so on and so forth. But we leave this down to the end user interpretation. But yeah, I guess that's the main difference between those two modes.
The other big difference, actually, which we should mention, and it's written in the objectives panel there on the side, is that out-of-the-box
Yeah.
mode will feature the huge new modding suites and improvements that are planned.
Oh yes, definitely. Those are still work in progress. We're still discussing what kind of tools, what sorts of things we can add. There's more to further support the modding community and also the player community. But I guess from my perspective, there's not much to say unless one of my developers, team members have more to say on this.
Well, I just wanted to say that the code that is being written with more modability in mind than Vic 2 has. So, some of these things, the modding sort of just comes for free because instead of having hard-coded things, we're reading them in from the game files. So, if you change them in the game files, like change the strata, added extra pop strata, then that would show up in the game. Other things you can't yet actually mod because there's no system for loading it in, but the back end is made so that it would be possible to change those things later. Some things we've even been thinking about are, this is far off, random thinking, but things like being able to merge provinces together, or let's say create new provinces out of water provinces. For specifically, one of our Dutch devs was thinking we could add events for that.
Yeah, I think far off, along with our modding changes to the scripting itself, we had a vision of every man being able to mod little things if they want. If you wanted to make a preset of what compatibility or new options, game rules you wanted, you can make that and you can, push that out to people, or a graphical application for making mods, which with Godot would be pretty easy to make. Eventually, if there's such demand for a tool, we just plan on having exceptional modding tools to make modding OpenVic as time efficient for modders as possible so they can make the best mods they can.
Yep.
You'll always be able to.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you'll always be able to do C++ modding to add anything that we don't make completely moddable. You could always just go and edit the code and make it and mod it yourself. There is no way we can actually limit what people can mod. However, editing the C++ is complicated, it's harder to do, and also you then have to compile it and distribute it, and people won't necessarily trust you sending them an exe file to run on their computer. So we still will keep
Not to mention, you could potentially introduce a bunch of things that'll come out of sync constantly. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to trust people's coding ability. So although obviously C++ modding will always be available to people, I'm sure people are going to do crazy stuff, make whole new games out of OpenVic with C++ modding. We still are keeping committed to you'll be able to have text files, whatever files that you can edit with Notepad and nothing else if you really want to, and drag and drop them in and load them as a mod. We are not locking stuff behind, we are not making stuff that you can only customize by having a C++ edit, like a C++ patch on top of the code or a fork or stuff like that. It will be moddable in the same way Vic 2 is, just with a less annoying to use format.
Yeah. There's more to think about what other functionalities or features we can add to support the modders, but like people say, Rome wasn't built in a day, so we have a long way for that, but I believe, we all believe that exciting times are coming for this.
Yeah, and when we reach that point and as we start to introduce more modding stuff, naturally we'll be taking in as much advice from as many different modders in the Victoria 2 community as possible. We already have a great relationship with loads of modders, advising and asking questions and giving feedback on stuff. So when we get to adding new modding stuff, that is going to be a very exciting time to talk to Victoria 2 modders. So compatibility mode is for existing Victoria 2 mods. Out of the box mode will have all sorts of new modding stuff. And at some point, there will be some kind of transition between the two. Could be slow. and that's
We'll
fine.
probably introduce a tool that will help modders transition their mods over.
Oh
It
yeah,
will not be comprehensive in the sense that a modder will still need to actually modify their new stuff, but because there's going to be a bunch of things that'll be in a sense incompatible because OpenVic allows, or Victoria 2 allows a lot of strange and dumb behavior that can cause problems, and we're also going to be allowing full names for countries instead of that 3-letter tag thing. There's a lot of new things that we want to do with the new OpenVic modding system that we would rather completely disregard in Vic 2's case in some cases.
right. So just in case anyone had zoned out and isn't paying attention, religious map mode on the whole world jump scare. Boom. We got it. Oh,
Nice.
there. Whole world. Look at that. Religion map mode. And that's currently in OpenVic.
And I believe this screenshot was just posted just now, wasn't it?
It's already in the informal showcase, and I'm
Yes.
looking behind the scenes and grabbing it.
Yeah.
It's not the whole world, actually. Missing out on a lot of Australia and South Africa there.
No,
Well,
it's ultra wide screen resolution, but I could make get the whole world, but then yeah, it's just more effort than it is just pulling up the map in the middle of a stream in the background.
Is that
Yeah, I
Jewish in Ethiopia, as someone asked in chat? It is, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Or is
yeah,
it
it is.
like a Coptic Christian?
Yeah.
No,
like that.
Coptic is just Orthodox, I think now.
Ah, right.
I'm pretty sure in vanilla that Coptic is just Orthodox.
Actually, no,
unlike
I think that is Coptic. There's too much
Really?
of it for it to be Jewish. Yeah,
Maybe, I
pretty
guess
sure
so.
Jewish is like a light green color.
So it would be indistinguishable from the Islam.
Of a Greece Turkey situation.
Let me zoom in. We're looking at there's Bosnia, Albania, Bulgaria there. Got but we could. That's the beauty of Vic 2, right? You can look at a map mode like that for ages and look at all the different things. We don't want to get bogged down in that right now. There's plenty of time for that ahead. So we've covered now the project scope. Does anyone have anything else to say about the project scope topic before we move on?
I mean, the only thing to iterate constantly is that anything that's supported in Vic 2 must be supported in some respect in OpenVic without crashing. So that's about it. Like, if it works in Vic 2, it probably, well, if it works without issue in Vic 2, it will be guaranteed to work in OpenVic.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, read our lips. It just works. That's the plan.
Well, that doesn't bode too well, saying it like that.
No, definitely not. Don't keep us accountable on this, you know.
So now there's just one little last section here, which is, it was the sad news really of Catalyst taking the tough decision to move on from the project, and I can't really thank him enough or praise him enough for the contributions he made in the organisation, running and leadership of the project over the many months that he was part of it. He's moved on, you know, got lots of stuff going on in real life, as many of us do. This is obviously a volunteer project. Any time that people do put into it is just greatly appreciated. And if people move on, that's completely fine and understandable for any reason at any time. And, you know, thank you, Catalyst. Let's all give our little tributes.
He's still here as a consultant, but he's not
Yeah.
going to be as much of the contributor as he was.
So we just having a moment's silence. Salute. Can we get some salute emotes in the chat? Let me just post one. It's a channel member emote. Get some salutes. If you don't have that, an 07 will suffice. Catalyst might even be in the chat.
Yeah, lurking around, must be.
Pulling the string.
Yeah. Some say he never really left, and he's just pulling the strings.
Yeah, exactly. It must be a ploy against someone or some team. Who knows? Anyway.
So, I believe that is pretty much it. I mean, that's a great coverage of all the different topics. And now, we ought to move on to the general Q&A topic, which is to answer all those questions. So, did anyone take notes of many of the interesting and various questions. And I'm only seeing the Fs and the salutes coming in now, so it might be a delay or something. But did we
Yeah,
take
there's
some
a bit
good
of a delay.
questions?
There was one who was talking about dynamic culture groups and other possibilities of the original modding system. I guess. Will you support for functionality that doesn't affect operation of the original system's mods but allow new possibilities of dynamic cultural groups, for example? And yeah, there'll be a bunch of support for stuff like that. Optimally, we would like to have stuff like dynamic countries and such, and cosmetic countries and stuff like that. I don't know about dynamic cultures specifically, or dynamic culture groups. Would be a nice thing to have, but that kind of depends on the implementation and the simulation. And I'm not as sure if. I think BrickPi, you're probably more on that.
Well, I mean, pretty much the sky is the limit for quite a bit of this modding. Once we have compatibility mode done and once we have our main mode done, most of our work will be maintaining the project and adding stuff that can be useful for modding. So if there's a demonstrated use case and we're asked for it by the community or modding team, I think there's a very good chance we'd add it.
Specifically talking about dynamic culture groups, so adding culture groups mid-game is not something that would be a problem. The only like issues with working that out are how would you create a dynamic culture group? Like, what method would you use to give it a name? You'd need to have at least a reasonably advanced scripting language to be able to put that string together. And then also, how do you refer to it later on? There's no way to sort of refer to a culture group variable. You always have to refer to them currently by like a hard-coded name. So these are things where the problem isn't that the engine can't handle it, it's that we need to work out how to make the scripting language handle it.
Okay. So another one is, will countries be able to core land with their culture? It's kind of more dependent on events, but it wouldn't be impossible. You can already do that in Vic 2. It's just, I don't think vanilla is too friendly to it, though.
Well, that's something that varies in loads of different mods as well. So you have
Yeah.
HPM coring events, there's various ways, and just
Yeah.
direct events. I mean decisions and stuff like that, like flavor.
Yeah.
There's all sorts
So
of ways of doing
OpenVic
it.
will support loading those events in the same way as Vic 2 supports loading those events. But OpenVic won't specifically have like a hard-coded in C++ thing that makes provinces of a primary culture get cored. But in the same way as Vanilla Vic and most Vic 2 mods do, you can easily add an event that looks for an uncored province of your belonging to your primary culture and then adds a core to it. And if you have a Vic 2 mod that does that, or Vanilla Vic 2, which does have an event for that, that event will be in OpenVic when you open the mod or the base game in OpenVic.
All right. Another one is, there a defined scope for MVP or initial release? Sort of. It's just when we have all of Vic 2 pretty much in OpenVic or compatibly.
Yeah, compatibility mode first. Before, like, we will still work on stuff. Like, it's not a strict cutoff that we're not allowed to start working on out of the box custom stuff before we finished all the compatibility mode stuff. But we are aiming to get the compatibility mode finished before we fully switch focus over to custom
and multiplayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Multiplayer will be part of that. But so we will do multiplayer compatibility mode, like Vic 2 multiplayer without uses, before we do custom scripting and stuff like that, which will be really cool, but will be even harder to do and avoid uses because more powerful scripts mean the more ways you can mess them up.
Yeah, and that's the target that we'll have for initial release. I don't know if you can really call anything like that an MVP, but that's the idea.
But as for a time of when that'll be, who knows? We've always been clear that this is a long haul project, and it goes to that philosophy of being meticulous, getting it right. We've always stressed not to get your hopes up for any specific deadlines or anything. I think when the project first started, we gave a rough estimate of a couple of years, and we're not quite finished the first year yet. A few more months and we'll be there.
The rate of progress is getting faster and faster, and that's not even with we've been expanding the pool of devs that have been working, but most of the progress has still been sort of like 5 people. So like as we go along, we will, even though it will still take a long time, that's because there's a lot of stuff to add. We are going to be getting more and more things added faster and faster, because each time we add something new, it's not building a sort of something basic doesn't really look like much from scratch. Instead, we're using all these things we built before to build something that looks really cool, like the war system or the diplomacy system or the economy and stuff like that. There'll be big tasks to do, but it will not be it won't be as much work as it would be to do it all from scratch. We're going to have all the pieces there, we're just sort of plugging them together.
Another one. What about renaming ships land units? I guess, but I mean, I don't
Yes.
know what that would be part of Vic 2 support. So
You
it's
can
kind of
rename land
necessary.
units already in Vic 2, I thought.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
well,
think you can rename armies. I think he's referring specifically to brigades or ships individually,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I don't see why that wouldn't be supported.
They have a name already, so yeah, it's not that we'd have to add the ability to give them a name, we just have to add the UI for editing it. So that won't necessarily be in compatibility mode, since the compatibility mode UI comes from the define files that they're already there. We're not you load them from your Vic2 install, so we can't add new things into those files. But it will definitely be very easy to make a small mod that will add customizable, add text boxes to be able to customize those. And then the custom mode out of the box stuff will definitely have stuff like that just built in from the beginning. Yeah, all sorts of UI, quality of life things, macro builder, God forbid. Those will all be built in to the out of the box custom mode. The compatibility mode, just because the UI comes from the text files, will not necessarily have new things. Even extra map modes won't necessarily have a button there to begin with, but it will be very easy to add that button on with basically just a single text file mod, which we may even package with the game.
And by the way, one of the questions that Spartan answered was from a super chat. Thank you very much for that one. And now there are also questions coming in the chat live. We'll get to all of them. Do you still have more written down, Spartan?
I mean, I didn't write them down. I'm kind of just looking up in the chat.
Reading
right.
the
It's better.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter either way.
Speaking of other features, how is the mod support, and will there be tools for modding? Existing tools are sparse and lacking.
But that was pretty much answered with the
Yeah,
last
Yeah.
section.
that's pretty much been answered already. Linux support, yes.
So I
where
remember
we
someone
answered that.
asking about applying to the team but not having that much time, and time.
Oh yeah, I already. Yeah, the basic idea is even if you don't have much time, you can still apply. We're totally cool with adding anybody in, so long as we know that you're going to stick around and not die on us. You can be very, very limited, very, very sparse contributions and still contribute. So
Yeah,
what
I
coding
agree.
language? Nah, that's C++, GD script, and Python for the build system, by the way. Are
There
you
is.
going to add?
Sorry, I was just going to say that there is one question that's been catching my eye, which I think it's a very good question. So from Rainy Jacob, he's asking, do you have any thoughts or expectations about the AI you're going to build? Are we talking about on the level of if X do Y, or is there more potential for some chat GPT like intelligence?
Well, in the first place, it most certainly won't be like a chat GPT thing, because first off, that's a language system, and that doesn't translate really that well into video games anyway. At least not in this, you want conversations when you're doing that, and you want them to perform specific actions by talking to the system, which is a bit strange when you can't talk to the game. But in terms of AI, we're definitely going to be looking into trying to overhaul it and make it at least not as crap as Vic 2 is, and doing a lot of the dumb and easy to manipulate stuff that you can do in Vic 2. We want it to be...
We could bring in ChatGPT for diplomatic conferences, peace deals where you have to negotiate with the AI via ChatGPT.
optional support for that.
Interesting ideas we got here. Make a map game Skynet.
Definitely.
Game Sky.
I think with the chat GPT, what Rainy Jacob is more referring to machine learning, but I think that's quite a very heavy topic, isn't it?
It's also not something that would be easy to train. That requires very, very specialized hardware to implement.
We'd already need an AI to begin with. You could try, if we had a Vic2 AI already made, we could then train a machine learning model to play against that AI. But like we need something to begin with. You can't just populate a game full of they're not going to build buildings or anything. The whole game, the economy will just grind to a halt. Like that's the AI will be built as it will be designed by humans, and it will be not designed the same way
There's
as
another
Vic 2's,
issue
but
with
yeah.
that as well, because of the fact that like this is still a game and we want the players to enjoy it as well. So the idea is that you don't want to make it so that the AI is too good, and you can't really limit that with like machine learning, because what the machine learning will do is it will just maximize its score. So if you score it that it needs to keep winning, it'll dominate everybody. And we could already make an AI that could dominate everybody. It would be too unrealistically able to beat everyone, and no one could win.
If you make an AI that uses if you make an AI that uses 1% of a multiplayer player's skill, no one will play it in single player.
No, exactly. And I think
I'm joking, single player players.
Yeah, I think with AI we just need to be very careful how we implement it. We might also be looking at a level of handicap just for the single player reason. But in terms of how we implement it, how intelligent the AI will be, it's something that we haven't really discussed yet. We haven't ironed out.
Yeah, I mean,
the AI will not just always make super rational decisions. Like sometimes we'll want the AI to make stupid wars sometimes because it's more fun that way. Like you don't want everything to be min-maxing. You want an AI that's fun to play against, that plays the game well enough, but it isn't trying to beat you at the game. It's trying to create an interesting, fun world to play in.
Yeah, we're building the primary point, especially in single players, to build a game first, and we want the players to engage with it in a manner in which they don't think it's cheating them, but they also don't believe that it's too easy to defeat and thus is trivial to overcome.
Yeah, the topic of the AI is certainly a massive topic. It's going to be so complicated and stuff, but at least there is the behavior of the current Vic 2 AI as a sort of baseline, where if all else fails, we can just gun for that, even if it's terrible.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I guess we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
There was, and even, I mean, I'm even seeing that there's a comment there from Leagnit saying, I hope AI still keeps sending around random ships. That made the world feel a bit more alive. If you make the AI play like a multiplayer player and group up all their navies in one giant blob in their home province, then the game would feel dead. So we don't want them to do that at all. Yeah.
No.
I mean,
definitely.
It might also be beneficial to implement commercial ships, but that would be an expansion on Vic 2 itself. So that's an idea that I would like to have, but I don't know about doing it in Vic 2 in the compatibility mode or not. In the least, I would see it in the OOTB.
Yeah, I think that kind of leans more on the OOTB because it's something that we are adding out of, coming something with something new, I guess. But yeah, on the AI, we need to be careful with this because, like Spartan said, we don't really want to add a dumb AI, but we also don't want to add an insane AI that will beat you,
We
regardless
don't want Skynet.
No, exactly. We don't want an AI that knows exactly what you're going to be doing, and regardless of what strategy or what exploit you're going to be employing, you're still going to be losing. It's finding that balance of you're having fun, but you're also challenged to a specific level, so you're not insulted.
Well, there are difficulty settings that could have that, but
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
as long as the difficulty if you make the difficulty settings just give the AI a better AI rather than giving them straight up number buffs, then that would actually be great.
That's a bit difficult because that generally means that you have to swap out the AI. It's a lot easier to make a hard AI that is downgraded than it is to make an easy AI that's upgraded.
Right.
And handicapping them might be necessary, but it's not a problem so long as the player is it depends on what the balance needs. If the balance requires for the AI to be a bit handicapped or to have handicaps one way or the other, we will have to definitely add it for single player folks, because the best part is we don't want to make it so that the AI quote unquote cheats and it knows every move you're going to make and then it responds immediately to it, but it will be aware of every move you make, but whether it responds to it in a manner that makes it obvious it's cheating is a separate issue. We don't want that to happen. We want the player to be convinced that it's playing fairly.
Yeah, it shouldn't
Yeah.
respond to moves behind what should be the fog of war. The current Vic2 AI can see what you're doing behind fog of war.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead we want to optimize it in such a manner that it knows it, but it doesn't respond. It responds as quickly as it would be like as quick as a player would it be capable to respond to it. Even though it would be aware of that whole fact because you can't actually hide the whole game from the AI.
You know, this
Yeah.
don't turn on veteran AI. It'll join your voice call and start rules lawyering.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think what we're trying to do is not to repeat a mistake that the gaming industry has been doing for the last 20, 30 years, where it's just lazy AI implementation, or like you said, Spot, the AI doesn't know the fog of war and has insane amount of buffs and money and all that. We don't really want to do this because it's insulting the player. I know for a fact that I didn't have a good time playing Rome 1 in an insane difficulty. Anyway, going on a tangent here.
So there is a question from Elia who says, is there a defined scope of the project? From what you've said, the scope creep looks like a big threat to the project. Now that was part of the dev diary, where we had
Yeah.
this whole section here. I don't know if you were there for that, but
Yeah,
And,
I mean, we can answer very quickly on this. So the compatibility mode is exactly the scope what we want to deliver, because the intricate part or the tricky part with this is that because it's a kind of project that was already worked on or implemented, we are just re-implementing it with our own code. The scope is already established. We just have to mimic, but better in this side, whereas the out of the box is something that we treated differently or separate, but some of the elements are being found on the compatibility mode as well. But yes, the scope creep, we are quite aware of that, and we're just gonna have to tread lightly on this.
I think the key point there is who is this? Oh my god.
Skeleton.
But the key point is that we've prioritized compatibility mode, and
Exactly.
The scope has been consistent. We've talked about what we now call compatibility mode and what we now call out of the box mode the whole time, but we talked about them equally previously as if we were doing them at the same time. And now that we're getting going and gathering momentum, we realized, yeah, prioritize compatibility mode and get that done first. So if anything, the scope has narrowed and gotten better and streamlined.
Yeah, definitely.
Hello, Skeleton appears.
Hello, everyone.
All right. The next question, by the way. The next question I got is, will OpenVic be on Steam? That is
Interesting question, I'd say. Funny enough, I think we were having a discussion about this just prior to the stream. There are some strong opinions on both sides, so we don't know to answer on this. I think we don't know yet.
I would like to say that optimally it seems like we will, but I don't want to say we're guaranteed to. There's definitely possibility that we might not be on Steam, or at least not immediately or when we release or whatever, but we want to get on Steam. We might not support all the features that Steam has. It might just simply be distribution, but we would like to.
In any case, all you people watching right now, the project's free. You can come and get it wherever we put it. Just download it off GitHub. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate that Steam makes things so much easier in terms, especially with the multiplayer, where you can right-click someone and invite into the Steam lobby. But we also need to be conscious on how the implications of getting a game like this on Steam. So yeah, we don't have a concrete answer on this. So stay tuned on this thing.
Your
As an
question
aside-
is answered here. Yoav's question in the chat is answered there in the OpenVic code already. There you go. It's there.
As an aside, it will be easy to distribute through itch.io. So that's trivial.
Yeah.
what is the Paradox Blessing exactly? Can you use Victoria 2 assets? Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, as long
Yeah.
as it's from a legal local copy, then you can use compatibility mode. If you don't have a legal local copy of Victoria 2, then you won't be able to use compatibility mode because it relies on Victoria 2 assets, which were made by Paradox, and we're going to respect that. But that's why we're making out of the box mode, so that anyone will be able to play the game if they have it or not. It's just if you don't have a copy of the game, you will not be able to use compatibility mode.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, with a huge emphasis on a legal copy.
If you want to know more about that, the previous stream we did, if you do want to go and watch another stream VOD, but we did talk about it extensively on the previous one where we broke the news that we changed the name from OpenVic 2 to OpenVic, which was a little request that Paradox had to give us the blessing, which we were more than happy to oblige with. But yeah, that was covered then, back in, when did it happen? August? July?
I think so.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I mean, when we say legal copy, we mean we are going to say you need a legal copy, but we're not going to put any DRM or that crap in the game. This is open source, and it will be a free and open source game.
Yeah.
Victoria 2 itself doesn't check for that with multiplayer or anything. So we're just respecting this. We're being faithful.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then the next thing was on DRM. Yeah, there'll be no DRM. There can't be any real DRM anyway. It would be useless. But we don't care anyway because we're not making money. So, like, even if that was the case, we don't care. Before they let their personal politics influence OpenVic 2. Yeah, no, that's not happening. We're just implementing Vic 2 as it was, and then trying to expand upon it in the ways that the players want. Nothing more, nothing less. We're not injecting our own personal ideals into the game.
Yeah.
And
someone's asking. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to point out, and some of us disagree with how Vic 2 does certain things from an economic standpoint, at least to a degree. But it's how the game does it, so that's how the game will do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
The great thing about compatibility mode is we always have Victoria 2 to test against. So, where we can, we will just take what OpenVic spits out and see what happens in Victoria 2 and try and replicate that behavior as close as we can.
Yeah.
If you want something that injects their personal beliefs into it, I mean, I'm sure there's other things out there. Anyway, so there's a question. Someone's effectively asking about a specific mechanic of movement locking, which is in EU4 and other games. I mean, maybe an option, but as a die-hard, old guard Vic 2 multiplayer guy, I'm not interested in movement locking. I don't really like it. Even if you can just cancel a movement like one day before, I don't know, I'm fine with it. It could be an optional thing, though. I'm not against it being in the game.
We'll probably have it as a rule thing. So just
that's the kind of stuff. Yeah.
In fact, I mean, in CK2 it was a rule thing. It was added later on into CK2.
Oh yeah.
And you could rule out of it. So,
well, that's that exactly. We'll just do that.
Mm.
If there's demand for it, I mean, you're just one person asking about it now. If we hear about it again, if there's a bit of a consensus, if people think it's a good idea, sure. It's not like one person makes a decision, it'll be in the game or it won't be in the game. We'll see what the community says on it.
One other interesting thing that I don't think we've talked much about, but which will be quite easy to implement. So multiplayer rules, there's all sorts of multiplayer rule sets, and most of these rules have to be enforced by a host, by people noticing people breaking the rules. And obviously, for some people, actively noticing other people breaking the rules is part of the fun, and it's the whole thing that if you break a rule and you don't get called out for it, that's fine. I think that's like the way Reno plays it. But for people who do want to play with the rules strictly, it'll be very easy to add in game rules that you can like turn on, and suddenly you won't be able to, let's say, declare war on someone who's already in a player war. You won't be able to do things like delete factories just before giving a province away, or at least if you do, like the factories will get preserved somehow or something.
Like when someone adds a war goal for a state, you can no longer delete factories in it anymore.
Or no multi-province retreating.
Oh yeah, we can literally just remove that.
But that'll be there'll be options where there'll be an option where multi-province retreating is in, but if a multiplayer rule set bans it, you have to like catch it,
Yeah.
or you
And the
can just
host will
turn
be
it
able to
off.
set the host will be able, similar to how it works in CK2. The host will
Yeah.
set the rules, so you'll be able to join a game. You'll be able to see in the lobby a list of all the rules. Yeah, it just makes stuff simpler for rules which people wouldn't like. There's certain rules which you can like multi-province retreating where it's kind of you try to catch people out and notice it. Rules around things like war goals, it's just like, especially you don't want to accidentally add a war goal that you can't add and then you're stuck and you can't remove it, or like you're stuck with someone being the war leader who shouldn't be. These kind of annoying edge cases, we can make it impossible to accidentally do them by having custom game rules.
And frankly, we should probably just add, when you're scrolling through the list of war goals to see how much they cost, we should probably just have the cost next to the name of the province. So have a better UI of what the war score is in a war.
All UI will be subject to redesign for out-of-the-box mode. Because, I mean, the UI is defined in Vic2 text files, which we can't copy. We're not allowed to use them. Those are Paradox intellectual property. We have to design a new UI, and we can remember what Vic2 looks like as we're designing it, but ultimately we're still going to be thinking about all of these things from scratch. And things which don't work well with Vic2's UI, especially adding war goals, I think that's probably one of the worst things in Vic2's UI. We will have a system, let's say, more like a U4's. We'll be able to pick it, we'll be able to design it however we want. Yeah, that's part of the freedom that we'll have once we get onto out-of-the-box mode, after compatibility mode.
Also, point about the interesting thing in compat mode is actually that because of how we're going to be implementing compat mode using Godot stuff, if we allowed it, you could actually add stuff to the GUI or GFX stuff, and then we couldn't stop you from scripting it up, technically. Which is a really funny. I don't know if you count it as an oversight, but it technically would work. And there's not really any reason it shouldn't be able to work.
Yeah, it won't be a particularly nice way of UI modding, and we will definitely want a better way for out-of-the-box mode. But it's not going to be like Vic2, where you literally can't add new UI behavior. Like, you can't go into the code and change it. That will be easy to change in Vic2 if you're willing to rebuild the game.
That's a good question. Any theoretical advantage to performance and compatibility versus purely OpenVic? I think I should speak on this one the best because I have a few ideas. As far as performance, we aim for compatibility mode to be as highly performant as we could feasibly get it with the backend, but we're obviously going to focus especially on performance for the OpenVic stuff. I do want to figure out if there are common paradigms which are kind of slow to do normally in Vic 2, and implement manners to kind of like patch them so that they're more performant. Like, say you're going through a list of things and looking for a specific thing in that list, it'll just look through, it won't go through the whole list, it'll just try and filter them all out a little more immediate, however it would do that. Like, if you're looking for names, we'll use tags that are quicker to find than iterating through the whole loop and finding each tag name, which I don't think technically you can do in Vic 2, but similar idea.
It's also important to note that that when people talk about performance, most of the time they're not talking about running the game on 5 speed and getting through a year in a second. They're talking about being able to have really complex mods and run them at more than like a day every minute. Yeah. So the one thing to stress is that the performance focus we will have is on being able to run, even on old machines, being able to run stuff at a reasonable pace. No one who actually plays Vic 2 plays it on 5 speed the whole time. Or if you do, you're not a very good player because you're going to miss all sorts of stuff. I mean, multiplayer games tend to go at 1 to 3, like between 1 and 3 speed. So the performance, when you talk about Vic 2 performance, the focus for what's important for playing the game is not playing it super, super fast. It's having it run reasonably even when you put a big load on.
Yeah.
There was a question. Wait, did you already get that? No, I think we didn't specifically answer the question whether multiplayer would be compatible between compatibility mode and out of the box mode. No.
Yeah, as
Is the
far
answer.
yeah,
No, I
we're
replied
not.
to that. It's the same as like in Vic 2, you can't, if you're playing multiplayer, you all need to have that same checksum.
Yeah.
If you're playing, it would be possible to have a mix of compatibility and out of the box if you're not talking about like some players with compatibility, some players with out of the box, but you're talking about all of the players, let's say, using compatibility assets, but with some out of the box mechanics turned on, like let's say different economy calculations and stuff like that. You will still be able to mix them, but everyone will have to have the same settings, or like, yeah, everyone will have to have the same mods and define files. And when you join the game, it will set your game to use the same game rules, the same settings.
There's also actually there's a point to be made. It's mixing out of the box mods and mixing OpenVic mods will be. I don't want to say impossible technically, but I don't think it will ever. I don't think we'll ever really support it.
You'll be able to mix the formats, but the main thing is almost all Vic2 mods depend on the base Vic2 defines. They don't, even mods which replace the map and the countries and everything, they still use lots of the base Vic2 events. They still often use the base Vic2 tech. Like there is no mod that I can think of that could run without also having a copy of the base Vic2 defines underneath it. Out of the box
Pretty
mode
sure
will
that
be
they
a
would
new
actually
version of it.
crash.
Yeah, but they'd be missing stuff, even if it's textures for the UI. But out of the box mode will be a new set of base defines. So out of the box mods, like completely out of the box mods, will be built on top of these new set of defines. So there'll be different provinces. There'll be probably different tags that are on. There'll be probably some different cultures and religions, and there'll be a different format to write this in. You'll be able to write Vic2 mods that build on top of the Vic2 defines with this format as well, but that will not be our focus. That in general, we will build compatibility modes to be focused on Vic2 and Vic2 mods as they work in Vic2, and we will build custom modes to be using a custom format, and that'll be where it's expected to work.
I would be a little careful saying that you could use the OpenVic modding system specifically to support stuff in Vic 2. In the least, that will be very janky, and it will be like some weird half mesh between Vic 2 modding and OpenVic modding, which will I wouldn't. I mean, I don't want to say it'd be impossible, but it would be a headache to support.
Well,
And just want to
shall
say
we? Go ahead.
one quick note on this, and I from my perspective, I don't see a reason why you would want to mix out of the box with compatibility, because you have the freedom of choice to choose either of these two. It's not like we are taking one of those mods and we are putting behind a paywall or something like that. So I just it's a good question, but I think from a specific perspective, I don't see a point of mixing those two, because you can choose to play with either of those two, really.
But there was a comment in the chat there praising the out-of-the-box assets, and we thank you for that. And I just wanted to point out that we've given a lot more of a showcase to the assets that have been made by the amazing art team, one of whom is here. The skeleton appears is on the art team. He's here representing the art team, i.e. he's sitting there
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah. So the thing about the art team, that it was completely frozen for months. I think the last thing was done in regarding the assets of the game was the top bar made by me 2 months ago. So nothing is going on there. Really, I think we need some tasks and to be woken up.
Why not?
Yeah.
Also,
Yep.
Days Fault said that people on 5-speed will miss stuff because they're not very good, and the goal is to not make it run fast. So is it going to be focused on only good players, no room for casual? No, you could run it on 5-speed. It's just a matter of fact that if you do that on your own game, you're probably going to miss stuff. That's kind of your own thing. But we're going to aim to keep it as performant as possible.
The thing was that there's no point to make 5-speed run 10 times faster, because at that point you're not helping somebody play the game. If you want to make a time lapse of the game super quickly, I guess But we're not saying there won't be 5-speed and you won't be able to run through the game quickly if you just want to get through a game. We're saying that there is no focusing on making 5-speed go even faster is not a way to make the game more fun to play. It is better to focus on making the game be able to still run reasonably when under a heavy load.
And to add to that, I think like this 5-speed will probably be faster than Victoria 2, this because of the general optimizations that we are adding to the game. But it's just not the priority, as has been reiterated. But I'm sure it will still run faster than Victoria 2.
It was
More about arts.
go ahead.
The thing is that arts are not the main focus of this development cycle. There is nothing really to lay art on yet.
Yeah, I did want to point out that there are showcases of the art that's been made by Skeleton Appears, Jenny, and others in previous streams, like the assets and stuff, if you want to check them out. There was a question there about if OpenVic would have a globe mode or something like that. I just want to say I do have a soundboard.
Absolutely not.
And
Yeah, if you're going to, if you're,
OpenVic's map is actually being rendered in a 3D engine, so you could actually make it. You could make it a globe. You could make it a cuboid. You could make it all sorts of shapes. It is actually, it's a fully customizable 3D engine.
You could make it like
all it is just mapping it on. All you have to do is map it onto a mesh.
An Obama prism.
We're not going to be doing that ourselves, though. That will
Yeah,
be
we're not going to
something
be doing
that
that
another
ourselves, but I mean, yeah, knock yourself out if you want to. We have depth support, and if we're using 3D support, then I mean, go ahead and make a real globe with like depth.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Any ideas of compatibility with Project Alice? No. Compatibility mode will not support anything they add simply because of the fact that we're supporting Vic 2. We're not targeting Project Alice specifically, and the things they add or that they fix or update, it just doesn't fit with Vic 2. It's not our target, and we don't really care to target specifically on their platform. They have a
Although
different
base Vic
goal
2
than
stuff
us.
that runs in them will definitely run in ours as well, because we're supporting everything. If something runs in base Vic 2, it will run in OpenVic. And so, that's already a sort of a greater degree of support there. So, there'll be a disregarding new things that aren't in Vic 2. We will have a wider support of things that do work in Vic 2.
Yeah, we're not going to be developing like once we have Victoria 2 support on OpenVic, the Vic 2 support turns into maintenance mode. So we're basically only going to fix problematic bugs, crashes, other things like that. But we're not going to be adding any extra features to Vic 2 once we finish supporting all the Vic 2 stuff natively. Everything's going to go into the OpenVic modding system after that point.
But now, as we've just hit exactly 2 hours, it's 9:30. I think that's been a very good discussion, and we've answered loads of questions there at the end. So I think we can safely wrap it up there then.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you, Spudgun, for having us on here, of course.
Yeah, of course, and I'd like to thank each and every single one of you for taking the time to come on the stream, and for taking the time as well to just be on the project and do the amazing work you're doing. Thank you, guys.
Keep your eyes peeled to Informal Showcase on the server. There's going to be a lot of visual stuff coming out over the next weeks and months. And we are looking forward to being able to show off all of the stuff that we've already loaded in all of the various menus of Vic 2.
Yeah, and also for those that have been applying during the stream for joining the team, stay tuned. We may reach you out. Just keep in mind that there's just quite a huge list of people, so it may take a bit for us to reach you.
We'll get to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the community server link is in the description. The website link is up there. Is there anything else like for the project? I mean, there's a backlog of videos and streams, like some of the more showcasing the art stuff. If you want to see where we've come from.
Technically,
but the
community
server
link is off.
Yeah, well, the community server is the #1 thing to shill. I mean, get on it. Get on there. It's the most immediate updates on the project. You can ask a team member questions just instantly. It's the best place.
Talk to us immediately.
Yeah, and And we've also reformed the rules and made it a better place, hopefully for a better community. It's been a great place, don't get me wrong, but we have, well,
It's even
basically
better
we've moved away the political and religious debate channel and hidden it behind a React role. So we just moved that
Behind the
away. It's gonna be
curtain,
better.
yeah.
I've put a little Spud Cordy reform on that to keep the politics channel away from like being massively publicly visible. People that want their epic political debates can go and do it in the corner. But other than that, check out the server so you can get your immediate updates in the informal showcase, ask questions, and just hang out, post memes. So I'd once again like to thank all the members of the team for being on the stream and doing the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Spike.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Hey,
Bye.
Take it easy. Yeah. See ya.
see you later, guys. Do you have your soundboard, Mr. Arpears?
Always here.
Nice.
Well then, I'd also like to thank the chat for tuning in and watching and engaging and asking your questions, and thanks for that one super chat. Over to the more Spud Gun related things to shout out: Bavaria Part 14 on Friday, Lethal Company stream after that on Friday as well, probably. You know, all sorts of stuff. I'm even going to be talking about Vic 3 in an upcoming video with patch 1.5. I don't, either of you two know anything about that?
No, I do not.
That's fine. Why bother, after all? Well, see you later, guys.
Alright, see ya.
See you.
Right, now that it's just me and you, chat, thanks again. You can still like the stream. This is going to now go out as a video, essentially. So the live stream will be just publicly viewable. You'll see the chat replay. And hopefully we can get timestamps for the different sections. If people want to skip to something, or they want to skip to the Q&A at the end, for example. Maybe they asked a question earlier and they want to see it being answered later if they couldn't tune in. So thank you so much, chat. Really great discussion. Solid. All the points covered. Very positive about the project as usual. These past 3 months without any updates, they've been working away on the project. They've been coding and doing all that stuff. Just because there were no updates doesn't mean nothing was happening. And I've always said, I'd rather the updates be less frequent and more substantial than just throwing loads of stuff out there to try and get every little update we possibly can. I've always kept that mentality when thinking about updates. And I want to thank you all once again. Yeah, nothing more to say. That's the end of the stream. Bye.